week?
Well, either way.
Okay.
All right. We will now start the Madison County Board of Adjustments meeting Thursday, July 18th. If you call the roll, please.
Keith Weaver.
Here.
Kim Bowles.
Here.
Mike Madden. Keith Hart.
Here.
Ralph Hall.
Here. First thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the previous month. So,
Make a motion, we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Can you call the roll, please?
Kim Bowles.
Yes.
Keith Weaver.
Yes.
Keith Hart.
Yes.
Ralph Hall.
Yes. All right. Next thing, we have additional use.
Let's, let me interrupt you just for a second. I've asked you to join us tonight. I guess you all got copies of the lawsuit. That's been filed. I emailed it to you. Did everybody get that?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if you've had time to look at it or not, but I asked you to come tonight and explain a little bit about that process and maybe try to answer any questions if y'all have them, don't know, but Jim, you want to come up and sure. Tell us what's going on with that?
Bert asked me to come here today and answer any questions you have. I don't represent the Board of Adjustments. I do have a copy of the lawsuit. I'm the attorney for the Planning Commission. I don't know if there's any specific questions that anybody has, or if you want to explain the process of this kind of lawsuit. I have reviewed the lawsuit. There's no personal liability for any member that I saw in the lawsuit that's being prosecuted. There's no claim that you acted outside the bounds of your qualified immunity from any kind of process. But if there's any, is KCO officially on this case?
KCO has a copy of the lawsuit and they are aware.
They'll be representing the county, they'll be representing the fiscal court, and they'll be representing you as members of the Board of Adjustments. But
Well, then it didn't list us, it listed you. So,
Yeah,
chairman.
Ralph Hall,
Sure.
Board of Adjustments.
sure, in your official capacity.
We've been sued before.
Sure.
Of course, we are.
Yeah, and the Board of Adjustments have been sued, I think, when I very first got on before, I think, over something, and
Sure.
like you said, there's a process and.
Absolutely. The issue sometimes that people have questions about is if there's any personal liability. In this case, there's no claim of personal liability. There's no claim. They made various claims for relief in the case, and I'm not in a position to really comment on the merits of the lawsuit. But not only litigated on an official capacity, not a personal capacity. And again, I don't want to there's a lawsuit because it's not something I'm representing. What either KCO is, but I think Bert wanted to make sure if there were any questions you had about that.
Everybody good?
I got the questions, I mean, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
So just my understanding, their basic, what they're claiming is that we just decided this on a whim, is their main claim?
That is a claim. They made some claim, but one of them is that you did this without the requisite findings of fact and conclusions of law that be required for this, and that's something the lawsuit will take up. And it's not, as far as you're concerned, on a personal level, no one's claiming that anybody did anything fraudulently or any situation with your personal liability.
I mean, when I read through it, that's all I could get is that they were claiming that we just kind of jumped the gun on it. Is there something I missed, maybe something else they're claiming we did?
That's the claim, I think the gist of it is, well, there's several things they claim that, one claim is that you jumped the gun, that you didn't make the requisite findings of fact. Whether or not there's even a requirement that you make those is, they'll take that. Another claim is that the comprehensive plan and the the allocation of the county that, that particular land use could be made in agricultural zone is, within the bounds of statute. And again, I don't think that's something that's appropriate to get into tonight, but.
Sure, yeah, I was just kind of wanting to make sure I was wrapping my mind around it, you know, through the legal jargon. I guess my only second question is it gonna require any time from us
No.
personally to deal with this?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
I wouldn't think so. What's on the record is what will be part of the lawsuit. I can't imagine that anything personally.
Appreciate it.
Will there be any depositions made to even verify that record?
I don't think so. The record is the record. That's the nice thing about official records, and the nice thing about keeping everything on the record. There's no claim that something happened behind the scenes in that decision that you made.
Not a lawsuit anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what we're talking about.
Right.
There's no claim that something happened behind the scenes or something untoward. The lawsuit itself just involves whether or not you guys acting in your official capacities made the requisite findings required, first of all, and second of all, whether the county did the right things in the comprehensive plan and making that distilleries something in agriculture. That doesn't pertain to you because you guys didn't make that decision. The decision you guys made was based on the comprehensive plan. So whether or not you made a decision based on the facts that were presented to you is something they'll take up in the lawsuit. But it's not saying that.
Yeah, I'm confident we did a really good job, thorough job. I just want to make sure it wasn't more required.
I know there's
time from
years.
us.
No, I don't.
I would remind you to watch your head when you back up. There's a, yeah, I think.
I'm used to that.
Jim, thanks for coming in.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it very much.
Ralph, I just also want to get on record. It's not on the agenda, so we won't try to take it off the table. We still have one item on the table, for the setback out of 1295 and 52
Last month.
from last month.
Oh, okay.
Garage, yeah, the trucks and workers. We don't have all business on the agenda, so he has reached out to me, he's trying to rectify that, so, I believe we were discussing on the table anyway. We'll have all business on the agenda next month, and, we can deal with it.
Alright, so now we will proceed to a conditional use permit for 2618 Dorsville Road. We have a representative here, Arwen Price. Is that correct? Okay. Alright, tell me your name and residence, please.
Arwen Price of 280 Chestnut Ridge Drive in Lexington.
Okay, do you agree to give truthful and accurate information to pertain to this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell us what you want to do.
I would like to get a conditional use permit to allow dog boarding at my primary residence, which I hope to be 2618 Doyle'sville Road.
So you're in the process of purchasing this place.
It's under contract contingent upon getting this conditional use permit.
So you will be residing there.
That is correct.
Alright, so you on Bluegrass Dog Training Academy?
You want to give your presentation that you sent me today?
I think that this will work fine as long as it works for the board.
No, it's fine. He said, yeah. He was-
This is
I got a PowerPoint.
Okay.
We just had one to react to before.
That way everybody get an overview.
Yeah, it's put a little time into it, so it's at least
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Too far away.
You're right.
So we are looking to purchase the property, right, it is 7 acres, currently zoned agriculture. We are looking to convert the existing garage shop structure that's sort of at the center of the property into our boarding kennel where we're gonna put our client dogs. We'll live on property.
Yes. So the property itself is located about 7.2 miles away from downtown Richmond, along the Millsville Road. The property itself and all the surrounding properties are all zoned agricultural. So there's a house that's located on site, and there's a garage that's located centrally on the property too. And the garage is the existing structure that the applicant would like to renovate to allow a kennel use. The nearest neighbor is approximately 250 feet away to the east, and it's separated by a very large grove of trees. There's also vegetation on 2 other sides. The side that's facing Doylesville Road does not have that many trees, but it's once the CUP is obtained, the applicant's father, Scott Price, will purchase the property pursuant to the purchase offer that's in place right now. And the applicant will move in via lease and operate the kennel out of the garage. So y'all did have this pulled up a little bit earlier, but this, you can look at the top, you'll see the blue dot. That denotes 2618 Doylesville Road. You can see I guess it would be south as it's depicted on the screen here. The nearest residence would be the house that's directly below, and there's a large grove of trees in the middle. There's another property out to the right, but that's also obscured. This is the current zoning. As you can see, it's entirely agricultural. I mean, I suppose there is a couple of C1 properties that are way down the Wellsville Pike, but the property itself and all the adjoining properties are agricultural uses. So here is an aerial view of the property itself. These are approximate border lines, but even with PBA borders included, this is well within the bounds of the property. That's denoted in red. The yellow is the garage itself. You can see it's pretty centrally located on the dead center. And you get a better view of the trees and the vegetation kind of surrounding the property and the buildings that are there. And here's a close-up of the actual garage itself. There will be mostly interior renovations, climate controls, installation, some sorts of renovations that would make it livable for a dog. So, Arlen will talk a little bit more about her plans, her business plans for the garage after conversion, should you grant the CUP.
So just a quick little bit about bluegrass dog training. So we've been in business in Lexington for about 6 years, Frankfort and then Lexington. We moved 3 years ago into our current building, which is a B1 in the strip mall. So out of that current building, we do group classes, private lessons, and doggy daycare. And so that building allows us to meet with clients. We house dogs. Typically, we've got the doggy daycare houses 30 dogs a day. And then classes, usually 6 to 8 dogs per group class. And we usually run 4 to 8 classes a day out of the building. We do pet dogs, basic obedience, well-mannered pets, but most of what we do is competition sport dogs. So agility, we do competition obedience, we do a sport called rally, which is a version of obedience, barn hunt, scent work, therapy work, all of those, confirmation, all of the sports. And so a lot of the dogs that would be on the property, almost all of the dogs, will be training client dogs. So that's significant because they're not necessarily just, random dogs that people have decided to board at a kennel on vacation. These are our client training dogs. Most of them are show dogs, competition dogs, and they're all known entities to us. They're not just random dogs off the street. So in our application, I included a couple of pictures of the proposed kennels. We're looking to put indoor-outdoor runs so that the shop is really easy to run, and to provide the best possible care we can for the dogs. So there'll be inside runs inside that shop, and then exterior runs that would come to the outside. In addition, we would have play yards out around that area for the dogs to run and play.
And when we first spoke about a potential conditional use permit, we wanted to have a business plan in place in order to mitigate risks to noise. When you have that many dogs together, it does present a risk of noise, as well as traffic, because there wasn't an existing business there. Now there's going to be one established. The applicant has created a business plan which actually mitigates noise, given in its design. Inherently, dog training does require a level of obedience, and actually loud dogs is bad for the rest of the dogs also in the kennel. We do ask for the ability to board 20 dogs, but boarding generally is a very seasonal business. The peak times are during holidays when people travel and they bring their pets with them. So typical operations would not have 20 dogs at a time. However, during peak season, we would like to have that capacity in order to board those dogs.
Yes, so the noise and traffic mitigation, we can just talk a little bit about that. So it is in our best interest to keep a quiet kennel. Dogs barking stress the other dogs out, and that is absolutely not something that we want to have happen. We want our dogs to be kept in a calm, happy environment where they are not stressed. So there's lots of things that we do to manage that on a day-to-day level. Lots of exercise for the dogs. We provide them with enrichment opportunities, so chewing items and mental tasks that we assign the dogs. We also spend a lot of time managing groups of dogs, so dogs only go in kennels next to each other that get along. We also have a very selective process for our clientele. It's the same with our building in Lexington. We only take dogs into our doggy daycare who have been accepted, and we will have that same process in place for the boarding dogs. The dogs come to the Lexington building for assessment days, and that's where we're able to determine if somebody is an excessive barker. They will just not be welcome to board at the farm. We will only allow the dogs that are able to do so in a quiet and calm manner.
Yeah, and just to expand on that a little bit, the fact that the pickup and drop-off location will actually be the main building in Lexington, that will actually help mitigate traffic impact potentially, because customers won't be driving up, the roads won't be congested, and the traffic flow will be very similar, if not almost identical to what it is currently. Because there will be, I'm not exactly sure how many pickup and drop off per day, but it won't be 20 cars coming and dropping off one dog each to be housed.
Yeah. So right now, clients drop their dogs off, and we have staff there that take dogs at scheduled times, and then I would just pick them up from daycare and bring them home with me. And then when it was their day to go home, I would just take them back to the office when I go back to work on their scheduled day to go home.
So there will be no customers coming out, dropping off dogs and picking them up?
So I don't want to say none, because I want to allow customers to come for tours. I feel like it's reasonable for them to want to see where their dog is going to be housed. But as far as daily drop-offs and pickups, absolutely not. Those would happen out of the Lexington building.
And Chair Harper, there is part of the business plan is to include professional photos and videos, so there can be digital tours. All advertising will be done through the Lexington office, so for the vast majority of clientele that do not require an in-person visit in order to get a feel for what the facility looks like and how it operates, they can just look online. There's a great website that the business has already put up, and it would be no issue to put videos and photographs of high quality to avoid the need for in-person visits all the time.
What would you say, Aaron, would be a max per day of picking up?
So right now, I wouldn't expect more than 3 or 4 a day. Because typically our boarding dogs will stay for a period of time, so it's not like they're coming for doggy daycare like they are at the Lexington office.
You're not gonna see 10 people coming in and out a day.
No.
That is something we are trying to purposely avoid.
Yeah, since it'll be my primary residence, I really don't want my clients coming to my home.
So just elaborate a little bit on the noise mitigation, that's basically just gonna be through training, basically, is that how you wanna?
So training and management, yes. So keeping dogs, only taking dogs that are,
Selected.
yeah, so taking calm, quiet dogs, keeping dogs that are gonna bark at each other separate. So the way we've designed the kennel building, we'll have 2 separate sides. So managing, dog interactions, making sure they all get along so that they're not barking at each other and screaming. We also really like to manage stress so that the dogs aren't worried and just screaming, barking.
Will they be left outside through the night, or is there a certain time to come in?
No, they would have to be inside. And it's our plan to only allow them outdoors when they're supervised, when someone is there. The kennel runs will open and the dogs will be able to go in and out at will, but only when there is a person there to be supervising them.
Business hours.
So we plan to put the dogs out about 7 a.m. and then bring them back in no later than 8 or 9 p.m.
And, sorry.
No, you're fine. I see you got your design for your kennels, that's 1 dog per kennel, is what you're saying?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so you never have more than 1 dog in a kennel?
No, sir.
And I would just like the board to keep in mind that the current business plan is to leverage the current layout of existing vegetation and open space in order to help minimize noise or any sort of obstruction to the view. Like I said, there's a big grove of trees and there's just vegetation surrounding 3 sides of the existing garage. So that should help deaden the noise. It's no guarantee it's going to be fully eliminated, of course, but it does.
When you're training these, I've sent some dogs to do trainings and they invite like you said, the customer out, let them see the training. Is this all in a fenced in area? Is this all in a contained area when it's doing this?
So the training bits, yes, will be in those play yards that were marked on the map. So we will not have dogs off leash on the property. If dogs are walked, we do intend to walk them sort of around that pond. That would all be done on leash.
Everything has been in contained area.
Everything else will be behind fences, absolutely.
These were included in the application, but this is both the interior and the exterior design that we have currently in place. As you can see, the existing garage is going to stay pretty much exactly the same, with additions to runs on either side. The back room, that's going to be the food prep room and the training space, is actually existing office space that was converted by the current owner. There is water and electric utilities that serve the building right now, and so there's no need for new utilities to be set up, and waste services also service the property.
Do you have square footage on that building?
I believe it's a 50 by 20. It's in the application.
How do you manage the waste?
So we pick up all solid waste, and then that would be taken care of via Rumpke would be the trash service, so it's bagged and disposed of. As far as urine goes, everything is cleaned twice a day. So we spray kennels with mostly water, but also some biodegradable, environmentally safe cleaning products and we'll put down crushed limestone as the base of the runs, and so that helps with mitigating any sort of odor or anything going on with the outdoor part of the runs. The indoor part will be cleaned again twice daily.
Your old road was maintained by multiple properties.
Yes.
So have you all come to an agreement with those other property owners on maintaining that road?
We have not discussed any sort of agreement at this point.
Yes, the first step for this, because the purchase of the property is contingent on the CUPs, we wanted to go over this first. But we, as far as
Gotcha. But you said they're going to let you lease it though currently to start it up, right? That's what you
lease it for that. Lease it
Yeah,
for
my,
that.
my father's purchasing the property.
You're gonna lease it from him?
I'm leasing it from him.
Okay, got it, okay.
So, since you brought that up, I had a comment from one of your neighbors that there is an active shared road agreement in place
Yes,
already.
yes, between 5
You
neighbors.
know, in terms of that, who's responsible, is it a recorded document, is it just something everybody agreed to and signed?
It's a recorded document.
We all sign.
Teresa can put a lien on your property if you don't pay, basically.
So it's,
This is
the
Burnett.
cost is split 5 ways, is my understanding. Maintenance of the communal driveway is split 5 ways.
Okay, perfect. I just didn't know if you were aware of that or anything like that. So it sounds like you want to operate this from 7 AM to 9 PM.
That's the process we need to talk about there, just for purposes of clarity for the CEP condition. Your hours of operation technically are 24 hours, 7 days a week, it's not right?
Yes.
According to their saying overnight.
Yeah.
I think for your hours of operation, we need to say, okay, when are you gonna actually be having activity? Customers coming and going, training activities, whatever you're doing, actually physically working with the dogs as opposed to when you shut them down and like that.
Okay.
That would be your hours of operation with the understanding that the dogs will be there boarded overnight.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, public,
Public or business functions
yeah,
taking place.
yeah, so what would you think those hours?
So we're not including like care of the dogs, like they're just out
No,
pottying,
no,
hanging out in their outdoor
Well,
runs.
everybody out there has dogs. Not everybody.
Yeah.
A blanket statement, but I'm sure there's other people that.
And we're just talking about, you know, that time where somebody, an employee is gonna be there
Sure.
working, not counting your resident.
I would say that would probably be normal business hours, 8 to 5.
And that's Monday, is that Sunday to Sunday?
7 days a week.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be there to care for the dogs.
Yeah, I don't wanna, I mean,
You don't wanna shoot yourself, saying you don't wanna shoot yourself.
yeah, no, I would say 7 days a week is, I mean, if the dogs are there, we need to be taking care of them.
That's right.
We need to be
Sure.
doing our best by them.
Do y'all have anything else in your presentation you want to continue with?
Here's a couple of examples of a typical dog run and fence. These may not be the exact models or materials that will be used, but it will be similar to this and consistent with these sizes. We could talk about the zoning ordinance if you like, but.
That's what they got me for.
Yes.
Well, we do believe that our proposed kennel complies with the zoning ordinance. So, first we have a completed application for a public notice. The conditional use table for the ag zone in section 3.5 allows kennel uses on agricultural zone land. And even though I won't bother running through every single review criteria, we believe that there are certain characteristics of the property that makes the proposed kennel use meet multiple review criteria used to make your decision tonight. That's leveraging the existing natural features of the property, keeping vegetation screening in place, open spaces preserved. Just the nature of the operation is not prone to giving out glare, smoke, odor, vibrations, all other nuisance emissions. We talked briefly about limiting the measures we've taken to limit traffic generation associated with the business. The design of the building is going to have and the business plan itself is going to have a minimal impact on the surrounding properties or environment and community. Put together, this is a harmonious use. And similarly, we believe it applies to the comprehensive plan. There's no zone change today. We are not asking for a zone change. That means the agricultural zoning designation will be retained, so it aligns with the future land use pattern of the comprehensive plan. As I mentioned, this is renovation versus construction. It lessens conflicts with existing uses. There's existing utilities with only climate control and insulation for the dogs to be installed, and preserves vegetative buffers and all those other things in place to minimize impacts to the surrounding community. And similar reasons, we believe that meets the land use and development plan goal, objective number 4 specifically, and the natural environment goal, objectives 1.
I know we were talking about the location, how everything looks, there's no plan to come in there and take trees down and change the layout of vegetation.
We are relying on the vegetation to stay in place for buffering, noise mitigation.
If anything, we might add additional, trees to.
But you don't plan to add any additional buildings?
All right. Does anybody else have any questions for them? I think there's some other people here, and we'll let them come on.
We'll give y'all an opportunity to come back after.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
these comments and, have the last word, but in the meantime, we'll recognize them.
Bert, has anybody called?
We've had a couple, calls just inquiring, asking about what the sign was for.
We got an email.
We did get one email.
Can you read, it's chopped off for us. That's all right. Can you read this for us? That way I get on the record.
Let me get the mouse back.
What it is, he's received an email, he's gonna read it for the record, we can't see, read all of
It's
it.
just from one of the neighbors.
Yeah,
She wasn't able to be here tonight, I think she, get it out there. And I deleted it, since we printed it off. But I can go back and get it, I don't know why our printer's cutting out.
it's that good old, portrait, not landscape, that's what that is.
You see? My name is Teresa Burdette, I live at 2620 Louisville Road, Richmond, Kentucky. I've been there since 1992. I will be unable to attend the meeting tonight due to a prior obligation, but did want to voice a few items. We are, of course, excited to welcome new
Neighbors into our area.
We're excited to welcome new neighbors into our area, do not want to do anything to prohibit a sale. However, my only concern is that there be a limit of how many dogs should be housed at one time. And since we have a shared road agreement to maintain the road, we would appreciate minimal traffic. Gravel roads require a lot of maintenance, and the more traffic, the more wear and tear. We all have dogs around there and have the occasional barking. It is our hope that these dogs will not disrupt our peaceful country living, especially in the evening hours. And that's Teresa's birthday. I believe she's one of the property owners out there, seeing your neighbors. Okay.
All right, so now we'll you wanna come up? Anybody wanna come up and speak, asking questions? Feel free, wait, come on over here, come on over here.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, and, what you'll do is come up, you'll tell us your name and your residence.
Megan Elizabeth Goldstein, 2624 Doylesville Road. I am the property, if you're facing her property, I'm the one to the right that, or to the left, that double wide right up there.
Okay, so you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
I do.
Okay. Do you have any concerns or comments?
I do have a comment. I have been in contact with Arwen Price for, I'm trying to think, the past couple of weeks. I had called her about about a survey issue, and we just ended up talking for 3 hours, and we discussed her plans. As for her plans, particularly hearing the information tonight, I am in favor, particularly because with me she has discussed, like particularly if it bothers the Thurmans, she has stated she would put in additional vegetation, possibly a sound barrier, fencing, things like that, just to dull the noise from the dogs. But honestly, I have dealt with dogs quite a bit in terms of raising them, showing them, etc. And her boyfriend, who will also be residing, he is a professional dog handler, which will be some of the dogs in the kennel. And he shows these dogs at high-end shows such as Westminster. I'm trying to remember the other one again at this moment. But so far what she has represented to me, I mean, like I said, I've spent approximately 5 hours speaking with her. And I am in favor of her plan based on the assurances she has provided me, and again, the information presented here tonight. I would just like to say that she has adequately addressed at least my and my husband Roy Goldstein's concerns.
Thank you so much. Thurman's like, come on, speak. I guess you did.
I'm watching them too. I've got enough going on here
Since both of you are gonna speak, please state your name and address, and she'll state her name and address, okay?
My name is David Thurman, 2645 Doyle'sville Road. I live directly over the hill behind this property where the vegetation stuff is. It's, I've been there since 1987, June. And it endured. I have nothing against this young lady or Kim. I love dogs and was a canine officer with Fish and Wildlife. So I love dogs and had my part of training them too. And my biggest concern with all of this is noise from barking dogs, depending on how many's there. And my next concern would be runoff, because there is a creek at the foot of the hill behind this property where they join me. And it, Clear Creek. And that would be my next concern. And there's actually a spring on this property too as well that runs into the creek. That, I don't know if you've seen that. There's a spring house. If the house is like right here in the back of the house, right down here in that little holler, there's a block spring house. I actually used to get water out of it. It ran down Mr. Randy Reese. At one point or time there was a local neighbor. That's who, his dad was who I bought the property from. And there was a spring there and they had piped it down the hill to the cistern where I lived. And I had to quit drinking that because when they built that house there, they built it right on top of it and put the septic lines out. So, but anyway, that's my biggest concern is the noise and from the dog barking, and I guess considering runoff and smell from it too, where you have so many dogs there, would be my biggest problem. I have no problem with dogs. I love dogs, and that's mostly my concern.
Thank you. You want dogs?
Yeah.
Tell us your name.
Martha Thurman at 2645 Doyle'sville Road. My biggest concern, honestly, at this point, besides the runoff, is that I have two very small little Yorkies. And we walk back there every day, 2 and 3 times a day. And there's just that creek between us and them. And I also have a 4-year-old grandson, and he and I play in the creek because, you know, little boys. And I'm sort of a bit concerned if one gets loose or something wants to happen. I mean, they're tiny little dogs, and I'm not exactly a very large person, but I mean, what if one comes after us while we're playing, or comes after one of my grandchildren? I mean, more than likely they will not be aggressive in any shape or form because they are trained, but you don't know. I mean, something could have triggered it. You know, that's my concern.
And that's the reason I asked them also, is it's when they're doing the training, it's gonna be in a fenced in area.
Yeah.
And so I think hopefully that'll help ease some of that. And, you know, and she said when they'll walk, we're not gonna leash, they'll have control of it, hopefully that'll mitigate that. But, that's the reason one of my biggest concerns with Martha was that, is it gonna be a fenced in area, because like you said, if they're training, they don't listen, where can it go? If it's in a fenced in area, they can.
Can't get to where
they can't go.
hopefully.
Exactly.
Yeah. But, that would be all I have to say. I mean, I'm fine fine with it. Other than that,
Thank you so
there's no
much.
problem.
One other thing, if I could, that there are, if I'm not mistaken, 10 houses that surround this place. If you count all the residents, I mean, they're not necessarily right on top of it, but there are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 that surround this whole place. And, you know, like I said, that's my biggest, cause I've had some neighbors in the past that with fireworks and music and everything, and there's nothing you can do. I mean, the noise level.
Yeah.
So, thank you all.
Thank you, sir. All right, this time we'll let you come back up. Tell us again who you are, and that way you'll know who's who.
We know.
Okay,
We know who you are, go ahead.
Arvin Price of 280 Chestnut Ridge. So I wanted to address the dogs being loose on the property. That's actually something that we work incredibly hard to prevent at any cost. A loose dog could cost me my whole business, everything I've built over the last 10 years. It is a massive liability if a dog were to get loose from my care and get struck by a vehicle, or if it were to get loose. So it is a very high priority that no dogs would ever get loose from these little structures. That is very serious, and we take it very seriously.
Yes, outside of that nightmare scenario, there was no new construction on the property, so existing drainage patterns will stay in place. We like the vegetation, being present because that actually helps with mitigating some of the runoff and not just letting it run loose everywhere. We want to be, we believe that this is a harmonious use with the agricultural character in the rural area that we're in. So we don't want to overstep those bounds. We want to work with it.
What is your fence height going to be in the training areas?
That's what I was gonna ask, how high are the fences?
So we're gonna use 5-foot fences.
Okay.
What type of dogs do you typically have for the breeds? Is it very?
So our show dogs are mostly terriers. So we specialize in showing wire fox, Airedale, Cairn terriers. Those are most of the show dogs are all terriers. My client dogs are a mixed breed, so we have some that are mixes. We have quite a few doodles. We have some golden retrievers, Labradors. I don't do protection training. There was a mention of the risk of aggression. I don't do that kind of training. I do different sports. It's a very niche area of training, and I don't do those. We also do not take aggressive dogs. That will not be tolerated on the property because I am not qualified to handle those dogs, and I don't want to. It's too much liability.
And again, to reiterate, you said you would most likely be bringing them dogs from one point down there, so you would already.
The dogs would be assessed at the training center before they would be accepted as boarding clients. They would not be allowed to just sign up for boarding and come. They would have to be existing clients.
On your outdoor run, you have an idea of how high that will be?
Those will be 6 foot.
6 foot.
Yeah, those runs will be 6
So are
foot.
there certain breeds that you will exclude? You talk about aggressive breeds like pit bulls, do y'all train those?
So we don't have breed restrictions, but we have the same assessment protocols for all breeds. We don't have a set discrimination as far as.
So you look at you take one to meet your criteria?
As long as it passes all of our assessments, yes.
So on your dog handling, like in the runs, how are they, is there a tracking device when we put on them, how are they being tracked?
So right now we put Apple tags on any dog that leaves the building, when they are in our care, so that would be part of the protocols down there.
And currently, there's no signs or anything, there's no need for it, I guess because you're gonna be bringing these people in.
That's correct, we don't want any signage.
Well, I was stated in your plan here that there would be no signage, so that's.
That's correct.
Just wanna confirm that. Alright, concern they had was the runoffs, from the
Cleaning of the
cleaning
kennel.
and the creek.
Yeah,
She did mention environmentally safe cleaning
Yeah.
products.
we will be
Yeah.
using environmentally safe products, and the vast majority of what we rinse with is water, so, we're dealing with, all fecal matter is picked up and disposed of, and promptly, right away, you know, we're not running in it, so, urine is the main thing that we're rinsing,
Any contacts with the, Madison County Animal Shelter?
I'm not.
It might be something you want to look into. I think they have some criteria that they have to follow for, depending on the number of dogs. If you're above a certain number, you have to be
So
registered.
we are aware that we would have to take out a kennel license,
Okay, right.
and we're prepared to follow all of those regulations.
The CUP is step.
Gotcha. And so inside that drain, would there be a drain of some kind inside this building?
So indoors, we would not be hosing the inside. We don't want to design a wet kennel.
Gotcha.
We want a dry indoor kennel. All of the dogs coming should already be potty trained.
Gotcha.
So they shouldn't be, you know, using the toilet in the building. So we wouldn't need to hose it out like a traditional animal shelter. It's not gonna be the same thing at all.
Awesome. Okay. Alright. Let's see. I don't think I have anything else. Do y'all have anything? I think we're good at this moment. One thing, Bert, for the record, could you explain to everybody, maybe they was asking, Mr. Thompson, who gets a letter and who doesn't get a letter when this happens? Is it just adjacent properties to this property that receive a letter? I'd had people ask me about this. They were like, we seen the sign, but we didn't get any information about it. And so I tried to explain to them, I told myself, I find out sure, but I was pretty positive that if you were not an adjacent property connecting to it, you wouldn't receive the letter, you would just seen the signage.
Yeah, the advertising formula or protocol is threefold. You have letters to adjacent property owners, you have a sign on the property, and the reason we put the sign by the road here, if we put the sign by the property, nobody can see it, right? This way people won't buy it as well as people who live up there. And third is the newspaper. So hopefully between one of those three methods, the word will get out in the future.
Did you get a letter?
Yes.
Okay. Well, your name wasn't on the adjoining property, but you got a creek dividing you, so I wasn't.
Yeah, and it was Southfield letter that we got.
If we wanted to send letters to all the property parcels that adjoin, so regardless of physical, you know.
Yeah, we usually have cross those ways and the creeks and that kind of thing. If there's ever any question, I always see one out there on the side of over notification versus under notification.
Well, and I'd say, I know Mrs. Burnett said in her letter that there was, all the people had dogs in that area, and just on the picture here, there's close to 30 different addresses in that picture there. I would be curious to how many dogs are in those 30 places. That there's a lot of dogs there, and there's probably times when there's dogs that are going across onto other people's property, and all kinds of dog issues with and barking.
Yeah, they probably keep their dogs in the
Yeah, that's another reason to keep ours very well secured. We don't want any,
Supervision.
Not necessarily yours getting out, but others getting in.
we want very good containment policies.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have any questions for them? All right. Since there's none, we don't have any more discussion. This time I'll open the floor for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Bluegrass Dog Training Academy for conditional use permit for dog boarding and training, limited to 20 dogs. And operation hours would be 8 to 5, no new structures are approved. Is there anything else I need to add to that?
Don't think I heard the mission address, but it is in the application,
2618 Doysville Road.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion second, call the roll please.
Keith Weaver,
Yes.
Kim Owens,
Yes.
Keith Park,
Yes.
Ralph Hall.
Yes.
This price will be in touch and get that permit ready for you. You can pick it up at the office and get it recorded in the clerk's office. Once we get a copy of that from the clerk, or a recorded copy from the clerk, we can issue a business license, you'll be off and running. All right, you're welcome.
Thank you.